Yo, what's good YouTube? I just made the craziest melting effect in After Effects, and here's how you can do it too. So in this clip, I'm going to melt this $50 bill. The first thing that I'm going to do to start off, I'm going to go ahead and roto brush this out. And because there's pretty good contrast, it's going to track pretty well. Now, another thing you could do is you could mask it out using the pen tool and then actually track it using the track motion tab. But in my case, this is much easier, and this is typically what I'd recommend. Now that we have this money layer roto brushed out, I'm going to drag on an effect called CC Smear on this top money layer. And it's going to look like this when you first have it on. Those are your to and from points. So set a from point right around here, and then a to point right around there. And so it's got this really crazy looking melt effect. And this is the first point that we're going to set. So go ahead and drag your to and from points to the same spot right here, and then set your keyframes. And then at the very end, set the from point in the same spot, and then bring the to point down somewhere like there. Go ahead and easy ease those keyframes. And so since there is a lot of movement with the guy that has the money in his mouth, it's not going to look super natural. So I'm going to set some more points in the middle here, and then keep adjusting those points wherever you think they need to be fixed. And you want it to be like there's actually slime coming down. So however it makes the most sense with gravity is the way that you're going to set those keyframes. And now that I've fixed those keyframes up, it should look something like this. Now, obviously that doesn't look perfect, but that's okay. If you see any glitches or mistakes in the smear, that's okay. You want it to be a little bit bouncy, and once we have those final effects on, it's not really gonna matter. And the way that we can make it a little bit bouncier is with the reach and radius values. So at the beginning, set the reach and radius keyframes at 0. And then typically before it goes down, you want it to be wider, and then as it goes down more, just like how water or real slime would act with gravity, it would get then thinner like that. And then with the reach frames, maybe I'll have it reach further right there and then back up like that and then go back down. And so yeah, now that you mess with those frames, you're gonna have something that looks like this. And now essentially just going to repeat that process with 2 more smears in the middle and on the right of this $50 bill. You can do this with anything. You can do this with a mirror, someone's face, a painting, a picture, literally anything you can think of. So get creative with it. And now that I've repeated the effect 2 more times, this is what it'll look like. So it looks like it's actually drooping and melting and dripping, but obviously it doesn't look at all how we want it to look. So now I'm going to go ahead and duplicate the bottom layer. So not the bill layer, but the bottom layer. And I'm going to add this effect called CC Mr. Mercury on this middle layer. It's going to look something like this. So that does look cool, but that's not what we're going for. We're going to bring this size way down so that it can fit behind this dollar bill. So set a keyframe for position and scale at the beginning so that you can't see it at all. Kind of as it starts drooping out, maybe like right there, we can scale it up, change the sizing to something right there, and then go ahead and just play around with those keyframes. We could track it, but it's so fast and simple that it's really not necessary. We'll have something that looks like this. And obviously we don't want this cutout down here. It looks sloppy. So we're gonna go ahead and pre-compose that middle layer right there. And then we're gonna add on turbulent displace. Set the amount at the beginning to something like 200 and the size to 80. Just play around with those keyframes until it looks good to you. And then as it comes out a bit, bring it down to 100 for size, 0 for amount. Easy ease your keyframes, and you should have something that looks like this. But that still doesn't look exactly how I want it to. So I'm gonna pre-compose the layer once more and then add on this effect called CC Scale Wipe. Set the direction to 180 and then have the stretch at 0 right there. And then as it kind of slowly comes down, play with this stretch like that. So maybe almost to 1 and then set it back down to 0 like that. Play with those keyframes. And now we have something that looks like this. So that doesn't look perfect yet. What we're gonna go ahead and do is pre-compose these top 2 layers and then add on this effect called Sapphire Distort. This is a Sapphire plugin. If you don't have that, you can use a built-in plugin called CC Blobalize, which is a similar effect. And I'm gonna keyframe the amount to 0, somewhere around there, and then increase the amount to something like that. Play with the blur lens and play with the rotate. Easy ease those keyframes. And now you're gonna have something that looks like this. and it's really starting to come together, starting to look trippy. And now there's a few different effects that we can add on. We can add on emboss distort, and this is a pretty good look that I like so far. So right around here, I'm going to set a keyframe for bumps threshold at 0.79. I also played with the bump smooth, and then I want to play with the brightness, bring it up a little bit more like that. Or you can add on this effect called emboss glass, and then mess around with these keyframes until you have something that you like. And I don't want these effects to be super cookie cutter. I want you guys to be really creative with it and actually learn the programs. I feel like a lot of tutorials are very cookie cutter, and it's really important that you actually learn what the program is about. So with any effect that you guys have, it can be a plugin or built-in, I encourage you guys to mess with the keyframes and do as much as you can with it. Next, we're going to go ahead and add on this effect called tritone, and this is going to help us change the color. So I like having it match his shirt, so I'm going to go ahead and have it match that light green like that, so that it actually will look like slime. Set a keyframe at the beginning for blend with original at 100%, and then as it starts to get slimier, go ahead and set a keyframe for 0 with blend with original. Easy to use those keyframes. Next, you're going to go ahead and duplicate this layer and now add on this effect called CC Blobalize that I was talking about earlier. Now set a keyframe at the beginning for cutaway and set it to 100, and then as it gets slimier, go ahead and set the cutaway back down to 0, and look at that. It's going to give it a very liquidy feel to it. And if you don't use your keyframes, I'm going to probably find where you live and come and destroy your computer. And now we're gonna have something that looks like this. This is looking absolutely crazy. Like, this might actually be the wettest effect I've ever made. It just gets better and better each tutorial. I'm not just saying that, like, this shit's actually crazy, bro. If you guys like trippy stuff like this, check out JamoVFX.com. That's my website. I just dropped a pack called the Shockwave Distortion Pack. It's got super trippy overlays, and if you like this stuff, I know you'll like that. If you mess with this, go ahead and like, comment, share, subscribe. I put so much time and effort into these tutorials, and I'm dropping sauce on Instagram Reels, YouTube Shorts, YouTube. And if you're a director, share this with your VFX editor. And if you're a VFX editor, share it with Wendy's balls drag across your face. I love you guys or whatever. Next tutorial, I'm going even crazier. Peace.